Hi, katzcradul here. A couple of weeks ago I made a video that I told you I had waited a long time to make because I thought it was kind of intense for people who were just starting prepping, and as we were all just getting started in these prepping videos, that kind of thing. Well, here's the other one that I was a little nervous about making, but I've decided to go ahead and just plunge in. I've always been concerned as I was making my prepping plan as to how I would offer long-term care to someone who was severely injured or to someone who was aging and just was poorly and not going to get any better. And that's a legitimate concern. I live in a very small town, and 20% of our population is 65 or older and living alone. So there's a lot of old people here, many who don't have anybody to look after them. And I'm the kind of person who would try to pitch in that kind of effort if the community was, going to take care of people. The other thing is I have aging parents, and I never know at which point, or if I will need to take care of them in my home. The other thing is I'm no spring chicken myself, and neither is Paladin Prepper. And, who knows what might happen where we would have to take care of each other long term. And I want to have what I need. And so here's some of the things, not all of them. I already feel like I drag out half my house to make my videos. So I got out some of the most important things I think I would need in a long-term care situation. And one of the first things I recommend is a well-stocked first aid kit. Now, my first aid kit takes up drawers and drawers for all the supplies I have. So I just put this out here as a representation for you. You need to have first aid kind of supplies. You need to have bandages and cotton balls and gauze pads and Band-Aids and cleaning solutions, to clean wounds, that kind of thing. So well-stocked first aid kit. Then here's some other considerations. If I were you, I'd have lots and lots of toilet paper, and I didn't bring out a box of tissue. But if I had somebody who had some kind of infection and, needed to blow their nose and that kind of thing, I'd have plenty of tissue, plenty of toilet paper. I'd also have some N95 face mask. I would actually have a plastic full face shield, which I talked about in my sanitation kit. And some of this is a repeat of the sanitation kit. I would have pool shocks so I could make stock chlorine. I would have some Lysol or something like it that kills viruses. I showed you this one a few weeks ago. It kills a lot of things as well. I would have not only this to kill viruses, but also to freshen the air. And besides this, I would have some solid air fresheners, the ones I'm talking about, the Glade that has the little lid that pulls up and you see the little gel kind of thing on the inside. We've all made that trip to the nursing home that was less clean than we would like, and that smell when you walk in. It's pretty disgusting. So that's from the facility not being necessarily as clean as it should be. But the other thing is you would sure want to treat the air if you got a scent that wasn't good. Then there's some other things I have, like antibacterial wipes, Germ-X, which is always my last choice. I'd rather use soap and running water if I could, but hey, if I can't, that's an option. I also showed you this Super Sorb that would absorb nasty spills, that kind of thing, and then can be just wiped up or swept up. Okay, so cleaning supplies, there you go. So what would I do if I had to take care of somebody who was actually bedridden and perhaps incontinent? That's been a real consideration for me. One, you don't want to ruin your mattresses, and two, if we're talking about a grid down situation where you don't have a washing machine and a dryer, you're going to be in a heap of trouble if you're having to constantly, well, first of all, if you're not safeguarding your mattress, you're in real trouble. So my first recommendation there is that you get a hold of some of these if you can. I've already decided which room would be my sick room, and the bed in there is a twin bed. And so I have, you can see it's marked here, it's twin mattress protectors. It's vinyl zippered mattress protector. So this doesn't just cover the top. You stick the whole mattress in and zip it up. I would have several of these for the bed that I intended to use. In lieu of this, I mentioned that there were many uses for a shower curtain liner. This is another thing you could use to cover your mattress with to keep moisture from getting into it. Then after I put my sheet on, I would have some of these, and you can find them in the baby section of your store. You might even be able to pick them up at garage sales. But what this is, it's flannel on both sides, but in between it there is rubber, so this is a waterproof pad. This is a really big one. I love these. So I would actually put this down on top of my sheet. So look for ways to protect your mattress. The other thing about the shower curtain liner, if you needed to partition off a room to make half of it a sick room, you could use paracord to run through the loops and string this up as a room divider. So that would work great. Speaking of the bed, I would have, especially if you're in a cold climate, I would have lots of blankets. I hope you already do if you're in a cold climate. I would also have gloves and hats, especially if we're talking grid down and it's cold, cold weather. You would want to be able to, for not only the sick person but yourself also, to retain body heat, and a good thick knit cap is one way. Gloves might also help. These are washable gloves, of course. You cannot have enough of this. And what this is a flat white sheet. I went to an auction, a couple of years ago, and they were selling off an elderly woman's estate, and her children had taken everything they wanted, and they had a whole book rack, maybe like 4 shelves of her linens, like towels and wash rags and sheets, lots of white sheets. And I started bidding on that, and Paladin Prepper said, "What do you want that for? I mean, this isn't, it's not even my colors," or that kind of thing. I said, "They're great to have in storage, and these white sheets would make great bandages." I mean, there's just a million uses for a white sheet. And some of them may have, little rips and tears, or there may be a little stain on it. It doesn't matter. You can bring them home, bleach them, wash them in hot soapy water, dry them, fold them up, and seal them up in a large gallon Ziploc bag. Or you could even vacuum seal them in Mylar and just put white sheets on them. That way, when you need them, they're ready to go. They're clean, they're bleached, they're sanitary. The other thing is, once you put this pad down on your bed, you've got the mattress protector and then you've got your pad. Lots of times I've seen in the hospital, they fold one of these long ways and drape it across the bed, not long ways but short ways, so that they can use it as, I think they call it a draw sheet, where if you need to move a person in a bed or move them from one bed to another, I've seen 2 nurses, one get on one side of the bed and one on the other, and lift the draw sheet and actually be able to pick up the person and move them. So these are great to have. In my opinion, you can't have enough extra towels and washcloths. Wash them and dry them and put them in a bin and throw them up in the attic if you need to. You've got them if you need them. But white sheets, certainly. You need a basin that will hold water for bathing someone in bed. The little lard bucket is a used bucket, of course, didn't cost me anything. I wash it out, but if you've got somebody that's nauseous, you'd want to have a little bucket, a little tub like that by the bed, but certainly one that you could use to wash hair, the big one, and to bathe. This is a little indelicate, but you need to know. I purchased this. This is called, I think it's called a Jane and Johnny, or Johnny and Jane, and what it is a little handheld urinal, which is great. This part screws off, and then, I'm trying to do this one-handed, and then here's the Jane part. This actually screws on here. I'm not going to do it because I can't one-handed, but it actually has this little adapter. Oh, thank you, Prepper. It has this little adapter where women could use it as well. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh boy, I've got to have that. So nothing I've ever used, but it's in my, thank you, you can just set it down. No. It's in my supply kit. So then when you take this off, you just clean it and you screw the little cap back on. Certainly something, you know, I want to have. I don't think I paid but about $10 for it. The other thing you need is a wind-up clock. This isn't actually my wind-up clock. It's just a representation to let you know. You also want to have notepad and pencil. Why do you need a wind-up clock? Because if you're dispensing medication and it's a grid-down situation, that's what you're going to have to depend on for time, unless you've got a big sundial out in the yard and that's what you're going to use. But I would recommend a small wind-up clock, and then pencil and pads, so that if someone is delivering care to someone who's bedridden and the shift changes and somebody else comes on to care for them, all the notes are there as to when you dispensed medication and what was going on with that person, how they were feeling, that kind of thing. Of course, disposable gloves. You need plenty of those. Then some, here's, as far as sanitation, lots and lots and lots of trash bags. You can't have enough. You cannot have enough trash bags. Okay, so that's a consideration. All right, and then of course in your supplies you'll have plenty of pain relievers. This is the generic of Excedrin. This is ibuprofen. You also need to have things like lotions. People who are bedridden really benefit from having their skin moisturized, and lip balms. And then if we're talking about feeding someone who's bedridden or convalescing, I really recommend that you have a stash of flexible drinking straws. That will make it so much easier than trying to just tip up a glass and, you know, making messes. Drinking straws are going to be invaluable. And this is another place where my hand crank mixer will come in handy. If you've got someone who actually cannot chew or eat food but they can sip, then you can take your soups and grind them up, or take your casserole and add water to it and grind them up, and somebody could who's ill but didn't have the strength to really chew and eat could perhaps sip some nutrients through a straw. I know this is hard to think about and hard to wrap your mind around if you've never had to care for somebody who's bedridden for a long time. But that would be our situation if we were talking of worst case scenario, or Teotihuacan, the end of the world as we know it. That might be your lot in life, to care for somebody for months and months on end, and it would be so much easier if you have the supplies on hand to do that. I encourage you, most of this is not expensive. Blankets, towel sheets, garage sale. Buckets for water and washing and that kind of thing, free. A wind-up clock, you can find that on eBay, not expensive. The hand mixer is a little more, $49 or $59, but it's available now. You can get it now. Drinking straws, $1 a package. Gloves, readily available at pharmacies, Sam's Clubs, Costco's. Pain relievers, you know where to get those. Shower curtain liners, just a couple of bucks at Walmart. The zipper protectors, not much more, $5 or $6. Medical supplies, that'll cost you a little more, but you can pick them up little by little. So hats, gloves, go to Goodwill or your thrift store or your resale shop. Notepads, pencils, you can pick those up free everywhere. People give those out all the time. So this is not something that's going to cost you a lot of money, but it's going to require some thought. I hope this helps and that it has not been overwhelming. My only goal is to help you get prepared. Cat's Cradle.